Today, I want to share some thoughts with you all on the relationship between liminal space or the in-between times and transformation. So, being in the business of transformation and personal and spiritual growth for many years at this point, I've seen cycles and seasons of how it tends to work for most people. I've also learned that culturally, we like to ignore, omit, or discount certain parts of that process. And one of those very essential parts is liminal space, or the in-between time, or to many of us, it feels like the part of the process where nothing is happening. So anytime a client comes to work with me, I kind of outline the general process that most people go through. And it's typically a lot of excitement at first. It's kind of this ouch of some sort, like it might be a longing for more, or it might be an actual challenge that they want to meet differently. But nonetheless, there's this excitement about rising to meet the challenge at hand, or the desire to create and manifest this desired outcome. So it's kind of like this exciting yayness to it, right? And so they come into this process and they're so excited and there's all this energy. And then we get to work on like unpacking strengths and remembering who they are and all this good stuff, right? And then I tell them there's gonna be a part where you doubt that this is working. There's gonna be a part where it feels like nothing is happening. There's gonna be a phase where your doubt comes in, you question your faith, and you're just uncomfortable, like cringy uncomfortable. And right after that, as you learn to be with that part of the process, on the other side is when the magic happens, is when there's a beautiful coming together. It's like, the best metaphor I can come up with is like making this really delicious soup. And you get excited and you look up the recipe online, and then you buy all the ingredients, you bring them home, you start chopping them, and then you start throwing them in your big pot on the stove, and you're so excited. And then comes the part where you just have to simmer. And it looks like nothing's happening. You're like, the ingredients are in there. I don't know why I can't just eat it. But you know, just like, let's say this recipe was passed down for generations, that the grandma's grandma or grandpa's grandpa who originally created this knew that part of what made it so delicious was that it sat and the flavors commingled, and there was an alchemy that happened while the cook was actually doing nothing. It was sort of behind the scenes. And that is what liminal space is about. That is what the in-between times are about. It's having faith that something is happening beyond what we can see, because it is, people. I'm here to tell you. And my nature is I like action. I would prefer to be doing and producing a lot of the time, but I have learned many times the hard way that when I receive the call to be still, to rest, to do less, or even do nothing, that is the doing that is being asked of me, if that makes sense. So I bring this out at this time when we are in the liminal space period of navigating the COVID pandemic, because I see the collective moving through a powerful process of transformation. And we went from, oh my gosh, there's a pandemic. Let's get the sewing machine out, make the masks. Let's put out offerings online. Let's buy groceries strategically for my family. Let's do all of this. It's got a real heroic feel. Like there's adrenaline behind it. In a weird way, there's excitement to meet the challenge in the best way we can. And then there comes the point, which is where we sit right now, which is like, what is this even about? Is this even real? What is it all for? Can't we just get on with our lives? And the answer is no, because we are not ever going back to the normal we knew. This is a collective challenge and initiation into some next level, right? I don't pretend to know what it is. Anyone who says they know what it is, I'm kind of like, maybe you got some bits, but probably not all of it. And so we sit together in the pot stewing together with our own unique ingredients, with our own unique experiences on an individual and a collective level, waiting for the other side to emerge. Moving through transformation of any sort requires that we relinquish the idea or attachment to control. We don't get to control the other side, we get to hold our intentions. So during this time when you are called to do less, to do nothing, I invite you to call your intentions towards you and clarify how you want to feel. Sit in creative, imaginative spaces of visioning. Like, what might it be like? What might things look like? And sit with the very real discomfort. Building capacity to be with discomfort, be with grief, be with frustration is part of the necessary alchemy. Doesn't need to run your life. You don't need to have it be your best friend, but it's part of it. So sitting with what is while holding intentions, it's like fiercely and lightly, is what I have found the most powerful recipe for navigating the in-between times, is being real with where you are while also casting a line periodically towards what it is that you desire. Like on the other side of this, I'm holding a vision of a collective that values connection more than I've ever seen in my lifetime. I'm holding a vision of family relationships, both in my own home and in so many across the world, being recalibrated around that renewed values and intentions. I'm holding all of that, and I don't pretend to know what it's going to look like. I don't know what it's going to look like exactly for me. I don't know what it's going to look like in the collective, but it's stewing, and it will start to emerge if we allow space for it to. And sometimes what we have to do to create the space in these in-between times is compost the shit. And that may mean that there are things coming up, that there are old wounds wanting to be healed or acknowledged. It may be old patterns coming up. It might be some of that. So in the stillness and in the nothing's happeningness of these times, often that's when that really important stuff that's been taking up space in our subconscious can actually come up and move so that energy is liberated and space is freed up. So stay curious. Stay compassionate with yourself, please. And if you find yourself feeling pressure to be heroic, to whatever, remind yourself that that is not everything. If you feel genuinely called to do and serve and support, by all means do it. That is part of how we get through challenging times. And if you feel like that is forced, please give yourself the grace to stop. And please allow others that you see the grace and the compassion to honor all cycles and seasons of transformation, even the ones that are not very glamorous and the ones that our ego doesn't love because we're not producing and all of that stuff that we're conditioned to value. Let the soup steep so that it can be really delicious on the other side, because I promise you, I've seen it enough times in people's lives that this is the initiation. If you try and pull it off the stove too quickly because you're frustrated and you're not willing to invest the patience, it will be less awesome. That's what I'm here to tell you. So feel your feels, honor your cycle and season of this, and stay curious about your intentions and your visions for the other side. And I promise you, there is magic and clarity on the other side that will blow your mind if you stay with this time. Big love to you all.